This is the Ford Focus, which will eventually replace the best-selling Escort. Ford's research told them that customers wanted a car that was distinctive to look at and expressive. Well, Ford's new edge design came up with the Focus, using taut lines and crisp surfacing, a sort of a generated machined look that is a natural progression following on from Car, Puma and Cougar. All four models are similar from nose to end, but are designed to be clearly recognizable as a Ford, and each has a distinct and separate personality to appeal to different target customers and lifestyles.
Well, I think if you look at the car, one of the most exciting features is the design. It's the latest evolution of our new edge philosophy, and I think it really shows the promise of what's underneath the skin. If you talk about what is underneath the skin, one of the exciting things is the new chassis. The new chassis has interactive vehicle dynamics. It also has a new independent rear wheel suspension. And then I would say the other thing that the car has that's very special is a lot of room, outstanding people package. When you talk about what is the character of the Ford brand, the style, the driving dynamics, and the outstanding people package are where we want to concentrate, and I think we've done an excellent job of portraying that in the new Focus.
The new Ford Focus certainly has a longer wheelbase than the old Escort and a higher roofline, which together provide a very spacious interior. Highly sophisticated software helped Ford achieve a package incorporating greatly increased body shell rigidity and crash performance, while at the same time actually reducing the overall weight of the car. All the petrol engines, apart from the 1.4-litre Zetec SE, which is built in Valencia, will be built at Bridgend in South Wales, and the new 1.8-litre Enduro Di will be produced at Dagenham. The new stiffer chassis of the Ford Focus shouldn't just improve crash worthiness, we're also promised minimal noise, vibration and harshness, and also it will provide a rigid platform around which the suspension and steering systems will be calibrated.
The driving dynamics are quite spectacular because of the attention to detail. But what we're most proud of is the fact that we've taken it to a higher plane of driving dynamics. Typically in the industry, when people talk about a vehicle and dynamics, they talk about things like ride, handling, and steering. All of those are superb on the Ford Focus, but we've added to that a harmony with all of the switch gear, the gear change, the clutch, such that the comfort and the refinement of those elements come together with the driving experience to really provide a sensational drive.
The new Ford Focus has all-round independent suspension, and at the rear there's a new fully independent control blade multi-link rear suspension, which is designed to give extra stability, particularly in extreme cornering or heavy braking situations. This will be available on all the Focus range.
For body styles, we have 3- and 5-door hatchbacks. We have a distinctive 4-door sedan, and we have a spacious wagon. All of those are available with all powertrain derivatives. Within the powertrains, we have 1.4, 1.6, 1.8 and 2-litre 16-valve gasoline engines. We also have a brand new direct injection 90 horsepower diesel engine, and they are matched to manual transmissions, 5-speed manual transmissions, and an all-new fully electronic 4-speed automatic transmission. I would describe the powertrains as evolutionary because they're already technically advanced, and we've evolved them into the Focus into a class-leading position for both fuel economy and meeting the most stringent European emission legislation. What's really revolutionary about the Focus is the way that all of these class-leading attributes are combined together in one vehicle to deliver a total package that we believe is, as we call it, a step beyond what's available in today's C-Class.
This is the Ford Escort, Britain's favourite family car. We bought a staggering 4.46 million of them. This car's been in the sales charts for about as long as Cliff Richard has been in the pop charts. But the Escort is getting a little old. It's getting a little outdated. And this is going to be the future. This is the Ford Focus. And today we've got a TV world exclusive first drive of the saloon model. So here we are inside the Focus, and the first thing that strikes you is it's as boldly impressive inside as it is out. It's got curves everywhere, it's very eye-catching, but it's practical. Radio, for example, easily to hand, perfect for placement. All the other dials as well have all been put very close to your hands. They're easy to reach, they're easy to touch, and they've got a quality feel to them. One thing I don't like is this wood around here. It spoils the rest of the car. Even in gear form where we've got leather, it's tacky and it's obviously fake. It's got lots of handy things. The information. Press this here, comes up on the screen in front of you. You get everything from mileage to the temperature. Wing mirrors, you can adjust them here as well. They're very easy to touch. And there's an awful lot of room in this car. If you look in the back, there's plenty of space. The other thing is driving position. Perfect driving position. You sit up well, everything's to hand. Get the Focus out on the open road and you definitely start to get shades of Colin McRae. This handles like an absolute dream. It corners superbly. I've never been in a saloon car that hugs the road just as well as this car does. The brakes are very positive. The steering is remarkably precise. You just touch the wheel either way there and you get instant feedback. And the road comfort is very good. Passengers that I've had in have been very comfortable as well. It's a car that you can enjoy driving around town or doing long journeys on a motorway. Performance is, that's a strange one. I'm driving the 2-litre version here and it's got plenty of pep. It's not too thrashy when you push it. And the performance is reasonable. I have to say I prefer the 1.6. It's quieter, smoother, and the difference in power, there's not a great deal. What's the verdict on the Ford Focus? Well, quite simply, Ford have absolutely rewritten the rule books for small family cars. This is a class act. It will be without doubt the best-selling car in Britain this year, and perhaps the best compliment I can pay to it, it's going to be a worthy replacement to the Escort.
Most of us from time to time have required the services of an agency to provide an Escort for that big do. Yes, for years now, car rental companies have been sending the great British public out in what's become known as Ford's Old Faithful. Since 1968, the Escort has been one of the most popular cars around, but not for too much longer. By the year 2000, the past will become a blur, because for Ford, the future is Focus.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I be the first to introduce to you the newest addition to the Ford range, the Ford Focus.
Angling to upset the VW golf cart, this ultra-modern looking vehicle, which takes many of its styling cues from its big brothers Car, Puma and Cougar, is ready to make Escort Man re-evaluate what he wants from a car. Or is it?
When we started off on the Focus program, we researched with our customers and our potential customers what they wanted out of a car. And they clearly told us they wanted a car that was a new, fresh look, that stood out in the crowd, that was distinctive and appealing to them. And the Ford Focus design is that, it's all of that. It's not a Me Too design, it's very much a fresh new look for this class of car.
Probably the most striking aspect of the new Focus is, of course, its looks. It's a car that you either love or hate. There's very little middle ground, and personally, I like it. It blows the staid Astra and Golf out of the water with its style, which Ford call New Edge design. It has a flowing form with crisp edges, sharp intersections and these taut lines, and of course these distinctive new headlights at the front. It's the rear of the car though that has caused most discussion, with many people feeling there's something not quite right. The flowing lines don't quite flow. The Focus is longer and wider than the Escort, and that's meant so much more room inside the cabin. Even rear seat passengers won't feel as cramped. On the downside though is perhaps the boot, which, whilst adequate, you'd think would quickly fill up whilst loading for a long summer holiday. But what about the dear old Escort, much loved by the great British public? Well, the Escort has a history that's rich and varied. A car that's been around for 30 years, seen man land on the moon, disco fever, and Brazil win the World Cup only twice. My first recollection of the Escort is in the days of Z cars on television, and that was the typical panda car driven at the time. But the Escort has been at the top of the bestseller lists right through its life. It's been a car for the people of the world, with over 4.5 million sold in Britain and 20 million sold worldwide. We just seem to love it. It's a touch mysterious why so much, because it's never been a particularly great car. In its time, the Escort has had tremendous success in motorsport and rallying in particular. And of course, there have been the usual hot versions, the Mexico, the RS Turbo, and the very potent Escort Cosworth. Well, if you still want to rush out and buy an Escort, you can, because production continues until 2000. After that, though, it's farewell. This really is a great car to drive, and everyone who's driven it will tell you much the same. Now, Ford claim that the Focus has class-leading ride, steering, stability, handling and refinement, and I, for one, am not going to argue with that. We've already seen how good the Puma and Cougar are, and the Focus just seems to continue that line and push the boundaries even further. The Focus comes with a wide range of engines and body styles. Engines are 1.4, 1.6, 1.8 and 2-litre petrol, plus a new 1.8-litre Endura direct injection turbo diesel. Probably the most fun will be had in the 130 brake horsepower 2-litre 16-valve engine, which at the moment is the fastest and most powerful, 125 miles per hour and 0 to 60 in just over 9 seconds. Body styles, well, take your pick. 3-door, 5-door, 4-door and an estate, all with that distinctive new edge styling. Trim styles are varied too, CL, Z-Tech, LX and the top of the range gear versions. So, most importantly, you want to know how the new Focus drives. Is it a match for the benchmark Golf or the superb handling Astra? Well, yes, it definitely is. This model is the 1.6-litre Z-Tech SE engine, which produces 100 brake horsepower. 0 to 60 comes round in about 11.5 seconds onto a top speed of 115 miles per hour. Acceleration is swift, flicking fairly easily through the gearbox. There's a little notchiness going into third, and you can rev it easily round to about 6,000 RPM. It's a really refined and smooth engine. So, the runes seem to be good for the new Focus. It's had almost unanimous rave reviews from those who've driven it. What matters most, though, is how it sells, and that surely will be good. Ford say they expect sales of 100,000 units of the Focus in 1999. Will its radical looks stand the test of time when in, say, a couple of years the Focus is a regular sight on our roads? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. It's a good quality car from Ford, following on from the Puma and the Cougar. They've done it again. Save up, see the bank manager, sell the granny. The car with the blue oval badge is a car to be seen in.
Hang on a second though, aren't we forgetting the main rival of the Focus, the Vauxhall Astra? After all, that's not a bad car to drive and can be compared favourably with many of the features that the Focus can offer in the same price bracket. After the break, we drive the Vauxhall Astra.
General Motors chairman Jack Smith has already admitted that he's taken his eye off the ball in terms of the European market, so the Astra really is a crucial car for them. We got our first look at it about a year ago, and now we get a chance to see it in the flesh and to drive it here in Austria. And this is it. There are 4 petrol engines, a 1.2, 1.4, a 1.6 and a 1.8, plus 2 diesels, a 1.7 and a 2 litre. And also to follow quite shortly will be 2 hot versions, one perhaps even carrying the Lotus badge, due respect to the work that Lotus engineers have put into the handling of the new Astra. Plus there'll be a cabriolet even further down the line. It wouldn't have taken much to make the Astra handle, ride and steer better, plus the ability to stop quickly rather than at its previous leisurely pace. Now the platform is totally new and will enable the Astra to come in a variety of body styles over the years to come. It has a hydroform aluminium subframe on which the front suspension is mounted, the coil springs, struts, dampers and anti-roll bar. Plus the body shell is 80% stiffer than before, which meant that the engineers could do away with a rear anti-roll bar. So, the exterior of the new Astra we like, but step inside the cabin and the interior and be positively underwhelmed. Well, it's not quite as bad as all that. Some of the early reports on this car were positively scathing about the interior, but we're not so sure. It's not very inspiring, but everything is good and solid. All the switchgear seems to work well and feels good. The seats are comfortable, there's plenty of space. There's some rather garish seat designs, which I wouldn't choose, but you might want them. And also, maybe it's just lacking in that certain je ne sais quoi. It needs a bit of spice. So much time was spent on the exterior that maybe the interior was forgotten about.
This must be the single most critical example I have ever seen of the impact colour has on a car's image. In other colours, fine, but in dark blue, well, in dark blue it looks kind of like a short wheelbase hearse. Seriously though, Vauxhall must be mad producing this car in this colour, because believe it or not, it's actually quite a handsome looking thing. It's just been dressed badly. It's the automotive equivalent of wardrobe putting Leonardo DiCaprio in a pair of grey polyester slacks, grey plastic shoes, armbands and a sou'wester. Not the best move on the styling front. After all, this is supposed to be a practical load-lugging estate. It's not some poncy shooting brake with a load-carrying ability of Tara Palmer, whatever her name is. But who wants to look this dull, even in a practical car? This is the business end then, and very sturdy it is too. Not that it would come as a surprise to anybody, really, that an Astra estate is good when it comes to earning its living. The load space itself is wide, easily accessible, fairly low loading height. The suspension doesn't intrude too much into the load space itself. It's actually got a payload of about 560 kilograms. That's as much as many a small van, so there's no problems there. And these plastic strips, they're more to do with helping loads slide in and out easily than ever they are to do with protecting the carpet. One thing though, and perhaps it's not a Vauxhall Astra specific thing, but load luggage covers. They're a great idea when it comes to avoiding placing too much temptation under the noses of the knuckle draggers who break into cars. They do keep things covered, but why are they always so, well, frankly awkward to get on with? Seems a shame when the rest of the car is so sturdy and practical that should be so difficult to use, but I doubt you'd be wrestling with it for too long because I suspect it would be broken inside of a couple of weeks. The previous Astra was, well, not very good. It looked boring, it drove badly, and the interior was tedious at best. That makes the new Astra even more of a revelation, which it had to be. It always seemed a shame that Vauxhall's lower-medium contender should, year by year, lose out more and more comprehensively to the competition. Therefore, Vauxhall had to work extra hard to make this new Astra improve in every way, the dynamics, the way the car looked. They had to address everything, and they have. Sadly, once again, this is really not the best example though. The interior itself as a design is clear, ergonomically efficient, everything's well laid out, it makes sense, but, well, it is drab. And look at this cloth. It's like the images they flashed up in front of Michael Caine as Harry Palmer in those Ipcris File films to brainwash him. Stare at these too long and I don't know what's going to happen. As for using the thing, the steering wheel itself, I know it's not a pretty thing by any means, but it is adjustable for reach and for rake, so it's easy to get a comfortable driving position in here. Whilst the colour in this example is not a good choice, the engine definitely is. It's a 2-litre 16-valve diesel, first seen last year in the Vectra. Well, now for this, the new Astra. After a bit of initial noise on startup that will wake the neighbours in the morning, it really is an absolute stormer. Predictably for a diesel engine, it pulls very well from low revs. Where the surprise comes is later on in the rev range at about 3,000, just past halfway, when the car takes off and pulls almost as if there was a diesel. It's because of the 16 valves rather than 8, and it's a very welcome surprise. The handling as well has been tidied up for this new Astra. Revised suspension front and rear does keep everything pointing the right direction very well. It's actually gone from being a bit of a lethargic old bus into quite a pointable tool. The improvements are definitely most noticeable in this, the estate version. Overall, it's pretty competitively priced, though not outstandingly so. For this, the estate 2-litre 16-valve diesel version, LS, which is kind of mid-level trim, $15,195 on the road. That's with air conditioning. ABS, however, you get a standard on the CDX top level, but up until then, it'll set you back $695, inclusive of VAT. That's with passenger and side airbags as well. I wouldn't ordinarily bore you with this, but insurance. Yeah, I know, loads of tedious forms and loads of even more tedious people only too anxious to take all of your money off you. But for the Astra driver, insurance has long been particularly relevant. That's because the drooling car thieves have been particularly keen of taking these things away. That's pushed the premiums up over the years. Well, the good news, both for Vauxhall and the purchaser, is that for the new Astra, the insurance group ratings have been pushed down considerably. In some instances, we're talking as much as from 14 down to Group 7, and that is going to mean significant savings for a lot of Astra buyers. The new Astra estate, along with the rest of the new Astra range, is good news for Vauxhall. I'm sure a lot of executives spent sleepless nights wondering and worrying if they'd be stuck with another dog to sell, but they haven't been. The new car had to be practical, economical, rugged, and it is. The boot space is great, there's plenty of room in here. It can carry as much as a small van. The interior, okay, it's a bit gloomy, but it works, it makes sense ergonomically, and the exterior, well, if we excuse this colour, it's a handsome enough looking car. All in all, if Vauxhall had been stuck with another dog, it would have taken them a long time to claw back any credibility in this sector. As it is, it's a great car, and they're back in the midst of it with a great contender.